copy of it. I need a copy of that.
Well, do you wanna give them the updated question?
Yep,
You got 2 minutes, Glenn.
that's what we reworded it to.
Or I think you just.
So you want me to
answer
read
the
it to
way
you?
Yeah, however you have it written is okay
Why,
too.
why
Kid.
did God tell
There'll be an
you
optional.
to fear not?
That ain't gonna work.
Yeah, yeah.
I just thought it's a thought question.
Yeah, so did I,
because
but I didn't
they-
answer it, so, until I got here, cause I was like, I don't know what you meant.
Yeah, but he also has said previously that when he does quotations, that has to be in there, and that wasn't, those words were trick
question for this week.
That was awesome, I love it, I love it. It definitely had me stumped, because I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, what'd you get for question one? She's like, well, I got it,
Yes.
and she told me her answer, and I went,
Yeah,
how'd you
same
get it?
reason,
Because he
so I
didn't say it. Like, oh, I guess I just assumed he did.
Had a way,
No, she wouldn't regret it.
and I think that's like, P-A-D-A-W-A-Y, or P-A-T, it's either P-A-D or P-A-T, but they're both the allergy eye drops, yeah.
Maybe we're gonna try for.
Yeah. I have both at home, I use both.
Oh, okay.
Whatever I can get my hands on, whichever one I can find. I've had to recently use them because my eyes been kind of wonky.
For the lessons.
New glasses and water.
Ah, yeah,
Maybe I can see anybody here.
right?
So, got a notification about 14 minutes ago. I'm reminding you, Granny. Does that sound familiar?
Oh.
Is that supposed to make sense?
The plans. Okay.
That will help us to remember we've got something for Granny afterwards.
Yes.
Something afterwards?
Yeah, she grabbed the wrong one, so she's gotta go back to the house to grab it.
But I'm not gonna take it to Sarah,
Okay.
because,
The plant.
yeah,
It's dark.
it's dark, when I get home.
You have to bring it in, can't leave it in the freezing, yeah.
I'm struggling with something
Yeah.
in the dark.
That makes
Oh, you'd be walking.
The dogs will be like, what is that? In the dark.
You know what Annie really likes? It's really big hats.
Oh, no, she's eating the hats?
No, she's not eating it, but she could if she would or wanted.
Move and like jump and his paws go and then he goes scurrying. Yeah, that's what she looks like. And she'll like back up and she does not like cats at all. Wow. Yes.
Baseball cats are fine.
She's scary.
Yeah, but not really big hats.
Cowboy hat.
What else did you have?
Well, that's the hat that she put on
So now you know
there.
what to do to her when she won't come in the house, throw a big hat on her.
I think she would, I think.
And she'll,
Book it across the street.
Oh, but visitors, we can have visitors.
Oh, then she would never like
Come visit,
visitors.
You can wear the sombrero.
That's true that she won't jump on it. Oh, she might because they're.
awfully warm in here.
It's funny how it's really warm in here when it's warm outside, and then it's really cold in here when it's cold. Ooh, violence is starting before we even officially start class.
I wrote down all over 30 definitions that were for this one word.
Whoa. Wow.
Posterity?
Carrie.
I was gonna say overachiever there.
There was a whole
There,
bunch of
yeah.
them for a few of them.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah. I just kept them short and sweet. Yeah. Yeah.
Sum up.
All right, we're gonna get started here in a minute. You guys got the wheel ready to go? Chloe's phone's dead, so we're gonna have to call in a backup wheel spinner. Anybody in here want their name on 5 times this week?
no, thank you.
Addison says me.
I draw the line at 4.
I told you I'd do it.
When Addison's on 20 times.
Okay.
Yeah,
And don't put anybody else's name on.
Feeling
The wheel doesn't allow you.
Put gear on for 6 and accent on for 6. Oh, no, you have to hit, no, 2, 8, and 8.
She's trying to make sure she doesn't get a question. That's not how the wheel works, Mom. You could still,
Alright, well, that
the
doesn't-
wheel's a chance. You could still have a chance as long as
Right,
your name's on
and if
there.
you only have them on 8 and 8, that still leaves 2 extra questions that you would be.
And you'll probably
chanced
get
at
number 1.
answering.
Thought question 1.
Shouldn't make one of those thought questions that's gonna be hers.
You know, if you sit there and you're thinking, "Don't call me,
Wait,
don't
which
call me,"
one's the hardest
that's kind of like the the Sorting Hat from a certain movie.
Well, she can get thought question number 5.
I skipped that one because I had way too much going on in my head, and even now, as I sit here and try to think of it, I know there are several, but to actually think of a name with the I couldn't do it.
Not Slytherin.
Yeah,
No.
not Slytherin.
All right, we're going to get started here. Before we do, Glenn, can you do the closing prayer for us tonight? All right, thank you. So, what chapters are we in?
45 and 46.
Are we sure?
47 to 50.
You know, it is.
Are you sure?
Not really. That's why I'm asking. The sheet here says 45, 46. Some questions may or may not have reflected that. By the way, if you're watching this, there was some controversy in thought question number 1. I am going to modify that question. I will correct that on the document that's online. So we'll probably ask this question in 2 ways. So if you're watching this for posterity's sake, good luck. All right, so chapters 45 and 46, Joseph forgave his brothers. He reunites with his father Jacob. Pharaoh welcomes the entire Israelite clan. He does offer them some of the best land, right, in that area, the fertile land and security, marking a dramatic shift from famine to posterity and a new chapter in the family's destiny. So with that said, we're going to flip the sheet over. We'll get to the fill in the blanks. I really hope I hope I got all the fill in the blanks right this week.
Those were all right.
Well, I hope I didn't get any wrong, but we'll see. Time will tell. All right, if you guys want to spin the wheel. All right, Vera, you get Genesis 45 verses 1 and 2.
One of your 20 questions.
Then Joseph could not restrain himself before all those who stood by him, and he cried out, "Make everyone go out from me." So no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers, and he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard it.
All right, excellent. Everybody got that? I did. So far, so good. But there's still time. All right. You can spin the wheel. We'll go to the.
Granny.
All right, Granny. Genesis 45, verse 5.
But now, do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life.
All right, excellent. So the word is sent. Everybody got that?
Yes.
Like anybody would willingly admit that they got it wrong? Like me last week. All right, spin the wheel. You know. All right, Mr. Glenn, you give Genesis 45, verses 26 and 27.
And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is going over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart stood still, because he did not believe them. Let's see. But when they told him all the words which Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob, their father, revived.
All right, excellent, very good. So the blanks are not and spirit. So we're all doing really good so far. If you guys want to spin the wheel. All right, Addison. This one had 3 blanks, didn't it? All right, so Genesis 46, verses 26 and 27.
All the persons who went with Jacob to Egypt, who came from his body, besides Jacob's sons' wives, were 66 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph who were born to him in Egypt were 2 persons. All the persons of the house of Jacob who went to Egypt were 70.
All right, thank you. So 66 and 70. Very good. And the last one goes to, all right, Vera, chapter 46, 33, and 34.
So it shall be, when Pharaoh calls you and says, "What is your occupation?" that you shall say, "Your servant's occupation has been with livestock from our youth even till now, both we and also our fathers, that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians."
All right, excellent. So we're cruising right along, all right? Calls and shepherd. I got 100%. I am very glad for myself. Smiley face. Good job for me this week. Gold star. How about a gray star? All right. Terms to define. We'll come up to these definitions. Wow. Okay, Addison. The word restrain.
Means to refrain, to hold back, be strong.
All right. I was just kind of following along there. Mine's same basic definition, just not in those word orders. To tie up, restrain. Ooh. Okay. That's interesting. I didn't put that down in my
To hold
definition.
back,
But
that sounds-
to hold back. Yeah. So in
I
order,
mean, I have the same
Yeah.
thing, but I mean,
yeah,
to restrain,
Yeah.
or to tie up.
makes sense. All right. Anybody got anything?
I mean,
Else?
force oneself.
And
was
then
another one.
compel oneself went along with that one.
Mhm.
So if you're going to, I did include to be strong. If you're going to restrain yourself,
You're gonna have to be strong.
you're going to have to be strong. That would be an example of self-control, right?
And I mean, if we're talking about in this context, I mean, Joseph was pretty strong up until this point. I mean, he hadn't broke down in all of these interactions, like in front of them the way that he wanted, and he's kind of pulled back a couple times to refresh, which doesn't show really weakness, it just shows that everybody needs to refresh every once in a while, so he's like, hey, I might lose it and not be able to hold this together if I don't refresh. But he hasn't up until now just been like, hey, this is the whole truth.
So was this like a new character attribute that he had?
Yeah.
Or how about,
I
did,
think it's wisdom. I think
But-
he is slow to
But did-
speak.
okay, did he restrain himself in dealing with other situations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you thinking, Addison? Like,
Hold. Never mind.
I mean, he restrained with
Potiphar's wife.
I was gonna say Potiphar's wife.
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, but it does come with age, though, right? Because when he was a teenager, going around telling everybody about his dreams, so he wasn't necessarily perfect, but he did learn the.
So I picture this is like he's been holding it in for a
Yeah.
very long
Oh, yeah.
time, and he's just ready to just let it all out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, very good. Any other definitions? Anybody want to share? No, you guys can spin the wheel. Oh boy. All right, Vera.
Go back and
Glenn and I could just leave, and Vera, you just come up here and give your answers. You and Addison switch off and on. I'm just kidding. Posterity. Is this the one you said you had like 30 definitions? No, okay. Okay. Well, posterity.
I had a remainder or residual, surviving or final portion, remnant, rest, escaped, and rest.
All right, excellent. Yeah, pretty much everything that I had. Anybody got anything extra or different?
Rested. There was rest and
I
rested.
had all the person's descendants.
Okay, persons of their descendants. I was kind of thinking about this posterity. I mean, maybe a person might think like maybe their wealth or something. They're like what they leave behind, or but in this particular situation, though, the way this word is used is it would be their descendants, right? And it was the portion that had escaped, and what had they escaped from? Yeah, and right, possible death. So God preserved that remnant. All right, so we're going to get up to the next word, carts. Carts.
Granny.
All right, Granny. Is her name on there once?
Yep.
Wow. This is what, number 3 or 2? Two. Second. All right, carts.
Could be a wheelbarrow.
Okay, I thought of that. Okay.
A two-wheel cattle-drawn vehicle which was made of wood.
All right. Anybody got any
Wagon or chariot.
wagon or chariot? Yeah, some definitions would
Or
include that.
chariot.
It says something revolving and a wheeled vehicle.
A wheeled vehicle?
I told John I wasn't putting, the first definition I found for that, it was a glass tube to put marijuana in.
Oh, mine.
Oh, see, you didn't look
And
at
I'm
that,
like,
you didn't
wait
look
a
at a
minute,
Bible
that's not a
dictionary
Bible-
for that.
That's not a Bible answer, come
That's,
on now.
yeah, no.
I said, I'm gonna look for the Bible answer.
Yeah, yeah. One of the, well, I was intrigued there because one of the first definitions I saw was something revolving.
Yeah.
And it's not a gun. Anyway, probably shouldn't have said that on YouTube. Anyway, revolving like a shopping cart, right? They have the wheels that revolve, or a wheelbarrow, a wheeled vehicle, literally a wagon. Did anybody else say? Maybe that was just in my, you see wagon, yeah, yeah. What's that?
I got wagon.
You got wagon?
I use eSword, and eSword, when you look up definitions, I don't have it for the New King James Version, so a lot of my definitions come from the King James Version. And when you look and compare the words, like, the New King James had cart, but the KJV had wagon.
Wagon. So it's the same definition, just the way the translators
And actually, when you
translate
looked
it.
up the Strongs on it, the Strongs actually list them all as in they were interchangeable. So it's
Yeah.
not even the
Yeah.
definition, it's just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
interchangeable.
interchange. So they're kind of like synonyms, I guess you
Yeah,
could say,
like the
to,
same word.
yeah, to try to define the word. You okay, Anita?
I thought I
Did you
heard
hear
something in
something?
that hallway.
Probably our dogs tracking us down. All right, you guys want to spin the wheel? All right, so far it's been Addison, Vera, and Granny. All right, Addison, carried.
To lift, bear, support, sustain, endure.
All right, that's a good way to put it. Anybody got anything? Well, I know somebody's got something extra. Okay,
She had more than I had.
so it could be used figuratively or literally, right? You can literally pick up a bag of something, or you can literally pick up goods and put them on the cart. It's kind of the reference there. Or you can figuratively lift up or carry somebody else's, bearing the burdens of someone else. So it kind of depends on the context. Vera, did you have any?
Yeah, the only one that I found interesting out of them that Addison didn't share was further along. So you're moving somebody further.
Oh,
something
okay.
further.
Oh, that's a good.
And extol, but we've already used that for a
Yeah.
past definition. I
Yeah,
don't remember which one, but-
yeah, I don't remember it right off either. All right, very good. Anybody else? Anita, you didn't have anything weird and wacky, did you, from your dictionary? Heavy burden. Okay, yeah, you shared that already. All right, heavy burden. Very good. All right. And then the last definition would go to.
It's me.
All right, Rachel, you get the word abomination.
Exceptionally loathsome, hateful, sinful, wicked, or vile.
All right, something wicked or vile. Okay, very good. Anybody got anything?
Had a disgusting thing, unclean, abhorrence.
Abhorrence. Okay,
Something disgusting morally.
something disgusting morally. All right.
Yeah, I had,
Simple, greatly disliked, corrupt, disdain. What?
Dis-
Not that word.
Disdain.
Disgust,
Detestable.
there you go.
All right. All right, Vera.
abhorrence, just had the word repugnant next to it, and that's to conflict or be incompatible with, or be extremely distasteful and unpleasing.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting because there's some things that are an abomination to God, and there's
And suddenly shepherds are an abomination.
yeah, they
to
were
the Egyptians.
an abomination to the Egyptian people.
But it is because it's incompatible with their ideal of their people being lofty or grand compared to other people.
Yeah, they were not shepherds. They were more of the grain farmers, and they would plant around the Nile River because the Nile would flood, and then fertile soil. So, yeah, they
Just one question.
Yeah.
How did they get their clothes?
the Egyptians.
Yeah.
How do they get their clothes? Is this a joke? I'm waiting for the punchline. Okay. Well,
How
I'm.
did that when it first came up? I mean, shepherds are an abomination to
Well, I would say they probably imported them, because you had the traders, the Midianites and the Ishmaelites,
You
and
got me on that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the same way that they built their pyramids and stuff. They used slavery, so they
Yeah.
used other people
Yeah.
to get what they needed.
yeah,
But they thought those people were an abomination.
yeah, yeah. All right, good job. I'm glad that wasn't a super difficult question. Thought maybe it was the joke of the night. No, I'm just kidding.
The way they
Just-
get their clothes,
yeah,
they hate
yeah,
shepherds, and,
yeah.
you know, I mean, I guess they did, maybe made a lot of cotton in Egypt or something.
Yeah, they could have done that too. I'm sure they imported stuff, but the cotton, yeah, they could have. Let's see, they planted a lot of the papyruses around that area. Could you get some materials for clothes from the fibrous stuff? All right, that would have been a great thought question. That would have been a better one than question number one. I'm not gonna rewrite all that though. All right, you guys can spin the wheel. We'll get to the questions from the text. Everybody getting 100% so far? All right, good job. Another smiley face.
Laura.
All right, Laura. What was Joseph's brother's reaction when he revealed himself to them?
I think they were disbelieving, and pretty much they were dismayed at his presence.
All right, dismayed at that fact. Anybody know what it means to be dismayed or odd? Some other trans.
Back.
Yes. So speechless. Does the ESV actually use the phrase speechless?
No, I think it said dismayed.
In verse 3. It might have been the New Living Translation too, that they were speechless. Like, have you ever had something happen to you where you were just speechless?
Oh, yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah, yeah.
Which is, usually it's something really big. 'Cause when I was
I can't believe you just said that to me. Okay.
I can't believe I just asked that question because it's I'm sure a lot of people that's happened to. You live long enough, it's going to happen to you. What, Addison?
It says dismayed.
Dismayed. All right. It's the idea that they were speechless. Would this be the first time that they would ever have been dismayed, in awe over what was going on?
Yeah, it says speechless.
Speechless. Wasn't it last week we were talking about when Joseph was having them sit down in the proper order of their, yeah, they were dismayed. It was, makes you wonder if they were sitting there at the table. Were they talking about this? Were they like looking at, body language? That would have, you can't hardly convey that into written text there. I mean,
some
but
raised eyebrows, like,
yeah,
what's
like,
going on over there?
or they're like, yeah, it would have been interesting to have observed that. So did everybody get that answer for question number one? All right. Pretty easy question. Next question's pretty cut and dry too, I think. All right, Vera, how many years of famine were left?
5,
5 years. Do you have a verse reference for that by any chance?
verse 6.
All right, very good. Would have been more epic if it was in verse 5. But anyway, moving along. Everybody get that answer?
Yeah.
All right. So at first I saw it said there was 2 years of famine. And I thought, oh no, am I going to have to do math? And then the verse just tells us.
Although I was going to write that equation out,
Yeah.
like 7 minus 2
Yeah.
equals 5, and I'm like, it says 5. I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah, verse 11 says 5 years.
All right. Very good. So who does question 3 go to?
Laura.
All right, Laura. What report was heard in Pharaoh's house?
That Joseph's brothers have come and it pleased Pharaoh.
All right. So do you have by any chance you have a reference for
No,
that?
I
No.
don't.
Okay.
45, 16.
16, all right.
You asked it, that would be part 2, and I probably would have answered.
That's
Thank
6.
you. 16.
Well, I have to say I'm pleased that you even told the Pharaoh's response that he was delighted,
Yeah, I
right?
put that in there so I
he-
just wrote it in.
Yeah, I wrote that as a second part, as a kind of a summary or a continuation of this. But yeah, Pharaoh was pleased. He was delighted. And
I mean, I think because Pharaoh thought very highly of Joseph, and for, him to actually realize that now he had his brothers here, that, I think it was important that, it pleased Pharaoh. It made him happy that Joseph had his brothers.
I mean, we don't have any information into Pharaoh's family. Maybe he was missing some family. And yeah, made him happy to see them happy, right? That they were able to reunite with each other. All right.
It gives you more of like a softer side of a ruler back in Egypt.
Yeah.
You know, from
And
all
he was a
the
good pharaoh.
shenanigans that they had.
He sounded like a very good pharaoh,
Yeah.
as opposed to the next pharaoh, which that's in another book
Yeah.
for another class and another study. Anyway, hey, what are you two doing over there? Spin the wheel. Did anybody get a different answer for question 3? So everybody's got that question. They're over there playing like, I don't know, thumb wrestling or something. I don't know. All right. All right, Anita. Who told Jacob to not be afraid of going to Egypt?
God, he said, I am God, the God of your father.
All right.
46:3.
All right. Okay. Everybody got that? Anybody put anything else? I included in there that God promised them. He told them that he was going to make them a great nation, right? He was going to make them a great nation. So
That's now my thought question.
hey, we'll get there. Or we could just skip that question and cut class a little short. But we'll talk about it. We will have conversations about that question. So God told Jacob that he would make him a great nation there. And what was the first part of your answer? Did you say? Oh, don't fear, right? Yep. So I do think it's interesting. You see all throughout the Scripture, God's just given that reassurance, right? Even though he'd already promised men like Abraham and Jacob, and later on you see Joseph, or not Joseph, but Moses and Joshua, right? That constant reminder. There's probably some application to us today.
We're forgetful people, so
Yeah.
he knows
Yeah.
we need those reminders. Why do you think
Yeah.
we do the Lord's Supper every first day of
Yeah.
the week? Because he wants to make sure we're remembering those
Yeah.
things. So even though he had given it to him, he's like, I got to make sure I give it to you again, just so you remember I did say this. And then to their children. So he gave the initial promise, and then he's carrying it down from one son to the next. So.
Yes, that was kind of an interesting section, the blessings or whatever you want to call it to the sons. Let's see, question number 5, that goes to, all right, you sound pretty excited there. Who's it go to? Me. Sound like Eeyore. We talked about Eeyore yesterday at the house. Anyway, what did Joseph advise his family to say when Pharaoh asked about their occupation?
Your servants' occupations have been with livestock from our youth till even now, both we and also our fathers, that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, I think, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians.
All right. And did you get a verse reference for that? I just did. I didn't jot it down, but yeah, good job. Good job. So Joseph's advice to the family was, hey, you're going to be asked, and you need to tell them or tell him that you are shepherds. I do think that's interesting that he said to them, tell them that. Do you think maybe the brothers would have been like, those Egyptians, they don't like shepherds. Maybe we should say something else. Or maybe Joseph was just trying to cover his bases to make sure the brothers didn't say, yeah, and just be straight up truthful with Pharaoh. Don't try to skirt around it, because that would be bad. You know, they're already on Pharaoh's good side. You don't want to lie to the king. And then they were going to be given the land of Goshen, however we want to pronounce that. And then there's even discussion about that in the next chapter. So I don't remember if that was a thought question for next week or a discussion question, so I won't say anything else about that. So I know everybody is super excited for the next question, this first thought question. So we'll spin the wheel and we'll see who the lucky person is, and then we'll address this question.
Seriously?
Bonus mom. Okay, so hold on. I'm going to read the original question, and then I will read the modified.
Original answer.
Well, because they both apply, okay, so we've had this discussion prior to class time. So the original question is, despite Joseph's forgiveness, why does he initially tell his brothers to fear not? Now, it seems like, and that's a direct quote, more from chapter 50 and verse 19, my brain's mush, things blend together. So we modified the question right before class, about 10 minutes before class time, 10, 15 minutes. And we said, we shortened it a little bit, why does God tell Jacob to not be afraid? So you can answer it, and I think your answer, we've already talked about this, kind of applies to both situations. Yep.
So, I mean, I'll just give my answer and then someone else can give their answer. Their modified answer. So I said, they may feel like it's still a trap. He's giving them peace. I know you have in quotes fear not, but he did tell them, do not be afraid. You know, like, he's having to reassure them that this isn't a trap. This is real.
Yeah, so that's God reaffirming, that's real. So in both instances, I guess that would apply.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have any?
Well, for the modified one, I said Jacob was worried about going to Egypt. God was going to make a way for him, going to make him a great nation, and he would be with him. So that reassurance that you don't have to worry about wherever I send you or wherever you end up, I'm going to be with you.
I mean, what are the odds that shepherds, I know that they were told that God is gonna bless them, and they've been told since Abraham, I mean, this has been down the line, but shepherds, and then all of a sudden their son or their relative is second in command of all of Egypt and all the possessions.
that
Like,
might
they're
go
gonna
to-
be given great land
Well,
for all
you
of
might
them.
want to pause on your answer there because that might apply to question 4 a little bit.
Well, I'm just
Thought
saying,
question 4. Yeah.
it seems too good to be true.
Oh,
like
yeah,
it's
so
a
maybe
trap.
from the dad's from Jacob's perspective. And the brothers did not have a really stellar reputation so maybe there was, it doesn't seem like he had any concerns, right? They were going to go, but then even they get to Beersheba, and then obviously they pause there in that journey a little bit, and then God reassures him to go. So it certainly seems like there would be some concerns. Could you imagine going to a brand new place? And would he be accepted there in that new place? And he's going to a foreign land and a different culture. So are they, how might they treat
Going
him?
to a place where they think they're an abomination.
An abomination, yeah, if you go, yeah.
And I like that in the beginning, I mean, this is the beginning of the Israelites. Think about this. God is trying to reassure them that he's with them in the land that he's sending them to. And then through the rest of the time that we know of the Israelites, God is continually reassuring them that I'm sending you into that land, don't worry. And sometimes they listen and sometimes they doubt. And when they listen, God blesses them. And when they doubt, it ends up not going well for them because they try to take things in their own hand. But here at the beginning, all the way through, God has to reassure them.
Yep. And even, we'll see Joseph at the end reassures the brothers that God's with them and help them. Now, that didn't mean that everything was going to be perfect and hunky-dory for the Israelites,
And it's not going to be.
because they ended up being slaves
Yeah.
for, 400 and some odd years there in Egypt. So, sometimes God's promises don't instantly happen. I mean, think about, we don't know. Well, I mean, we could look it up, but how many generations?
In our lives, we get frustrated when things don't happen exactly when we think. They waited 400 years. None of us are going to have to wait 400 years for a promise to be fulfilled for us.
How many generations were born, lived, and died? And they still have that promise, looking forward, right? So even later on, when they are told, "Hey, the Messiah is going to come to you guys through you," they're constantly looking, hopeful. All right. All right, Addison, you get the second thought question. I don't think thought question 1 went too bad. Maybe it's because we got it all out of our systems before class, before we started streaming. Addison, why is Goshen or Goshen chosen as a settlement for Jacob and his family?
I said, verses 10 and 11, they were told to go to Goshen to be near Joseph so that he could provide for them.
Okay. Okay, so that he could be near and to provide, all
I
right?
added in that it's a fertile land that can
Okay.
support their livestock. It doesn't mention that in these chapters, but I just know
Well, it does in 47:4, it says there's pasture for all the livestock.
Okay,
that's not these chapters.
so,
Oh, yeah, that's true, that.
but this is a thought question. So a thought question may or may not be directly from this, but just digging deeper into it, we do know it's fertile land.
I
That's
put
probably why I put
34,
47.
every shepherd is an abomination to Egypt.
Okay, so that would be part of the reason, that's part of the reason. So Egypt,
Protecting them.
so here, this is not a map. So here, pretend this is Egypt, and then Goshen would be like over in this area. So it's still, it would be like a territory of Egypt. So like the United States, we think of, you know, the lower 48, and then we have Alaska that's off, and then you have Hawaii that's off. But we have more territories, don't we? Than just, we have Guam, and we have, is it Puerto Rico? So it's off a little ways. So Goshen would be off a little ways, but still under the umbrella of that protection. So there's a reason, if they were directly there amongst the Egyptian people, that would cause, there could be potential intermingling, couldn't there, of Egyptian cultures, and so this is a way to protect the family from surrounding nations. That way people wouldn't, I mean, you had little tribes around that area. If they were just shepherding out there in the wilderness, they could be attacked by marauders. So this is a way that Egypt would protect them, also would protect them to be pure, keeping them separate from the Egyptians. Also, Goshen was kind of that in-between buffer land between Egypt and the Promised Land. So they were still close-ish to their original land. And so that would give them hope to one day return back to that land.
Yeah, Goshen is actually right on the water too, so.
So in being on the water, that would help provide with fertile
the Nile
grazing
River
land.
Kind of like splits off and like all these little different little thing, and it's like right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are those little things called? They're not tributaries, but they're the fingers of the, that's getting a little scientific. We'll quickly move on. All right, anybody, unless anybody's got any other answers for question 2 that you'd like to share?
Okay, it was considered the best land, and I thought maybe he was trying to encourage them to come.
And
Maybe the best place.
And that's great too, right? And to think, isn't that something to think about? I don't think I jotted this down on my sheet. Maybe I did. I think I put that in question 5. I'll just say it now. You know, here Pharaoh is allowing a foreign group of people to come into his land, and they're an abomination to him, and he still gave him some of the best prime soil in that area. Could have went differently, couldn't it have?
Because they were connected to Joseph.
Could have went way different. Yep. Could have been like, we're just going to give you some desert land out west, where we've done some.
Far away from us.
I was going to joke. So we did some nuclear experimentations out there. Just kidding. Egyptians didn't have that. All right. Hey, stop hitting each other. Question 3. Spin the wheel.
My grandma.
All right, Anita. Can you explain the statement, quote, Joseph will put his hand on your eyes?
So he would have a peaceful death. Joseph was gonna be with him till
All right.
he died.
All right. So that would be words of, it sounds kind of morbid, right?
Well,
But it's
like
encouraging.
the last person with you, your last loved one, usually is the one that closes your eyes. So.
Yeah. So that's a Hebrew idiom. Idiom, not. You know what I'm saying. It's an idiom. It's a figure of speech. But that was a prophecy, right? Illustrating that Joseph would perform these last rites at his father's death. And so on one hand, it might sound kind of morbid, but on the other hand, that would be encouraging to Jacob to know the whole family is going to be there, reunited again. One commentator, I jotted this down, I lost it. they said the promise conveyed the assurance that Jacob would die peacefully surrounded by his friends and family. And I thought that was good, yeah, reassuring to him. And you notice they're all older, and Jacob was much older. And you remember what it said, they picked up their goods and they put them on the cart, and the little kids, and Jacob was part of that. They lifted Jacob up and put him on the cart. So it wasn't like he was just able to make this, he wasn't able to just walk this journey. He was very feeble. Yep. All right. Anybody got anything extra?
I have in the Bible here, like, but it's by chapter 47. Chapter 47 says he's 130. So.
Okay.
He's an old
So
man.
he's very, very old. All right. How's that wheel looking over there? Need a little oil? Oh, okay. Okay, Laura.
I know.
Poor Laurel.
I've only had the one question.
Oh, poor Laura. Who sent Joseph to Egypt? And what does this reveal about God's providence?
I mean, pretty much basically, God sent him because he had a plan. He had a plan for Joseph's life, for Jacob's life, for his brothers' lives. It was just,
Okay,
everything being set in motion.
okay, very good.
I said God knows all the possible outcomes, so we can choose things, but God is already ahead of all of that and knows all of those possible choices and outcomes ahead of time, and he provides for his people for all of those to reach his plan for them.
Okay, very good. Anybody got anything different?
I put God, he loves us and will help us if we trust and obey him.
Okay,
God, he had a plan all along, and God's plans are not always our plans.
okay. Anything else?
It's just God sees the bigger picture.
Okay,
Us measly, mere humans can only see what's right in front of us.
yeah, he certainly does. Glenn, you were investigating your paper. You got any
No,
words of wisdom?
I mean, I just put God looks after us.
Okay.
I was actually looking at the next one.
Okay. Well, interestingly, I put something a little different. I mean, it does apply to what you guys were saying, but literally, the brothers are the one that sent him into Egypt. So they literally sent them. However, God allowed it
Well, yeah.
because God had that, like you guys were saying, the bigger picture there, and it was to preserve their life. And even the bigger picture there was really for all humanity. You preserve Israel because who did the Savior come through?
Israel.
Israel, and specifically the tribe of Judah. So,
I thought you took it from Genesis 45:5, which literally says, God sent me before you to preserve life.
yeah, and that's a thought question. So it's thought provoking, but yeah, and that would be Joseph, right, putting a positive spin on something bad that happened.
And he's trying to reassure them that he's not holding anything against them because he recognizes that it was God's plan all along.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what he's meaning by that. God sent me here, right, to preserve the life of all of us. Joseph could have been, if he. It's interesting to me that Joseph didn't blame God ever for being in that situation, but sometimes people do blame God for bad situations, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's even amazing that sometimes people that claim to not believe in God blames God for bad situations, which I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works.
But don't give him credit for any good he does for him.
Yeah, right.
Blame him for anything bad that happened.
Yeah. All right, very good. And then question number 5. I hope this one goes to Glenn because he was analyzing it. And, all right, Vera. Beyond Joseph and Jacob, are there any other characters whose stories offer interesting perspectives or lessons in these chapters? Now, if you notice, I said, are there any other characters?
Yes.
That's a yes or no question.
I do.
All right.
So, I said,
So you don't want us to listen then?
No, you
just
can.
vote yes or no?
No, I said that because Laura said her brain was mush and she was struggling a little bit with that question. So I did want to point out that it was, I mean, see, you didn't read into it, which is a good thing. That's a good thing.
I'm an overthinker.
All right, do you have any characters or people that you could
the
think of?
brothers,
Okay.
because like the way that they react to Joseph, they're shocked
Okay.
that they've come all this way, and here he is, and I mean, when he finally gets to the end of his speech about, it's me, he kisses Benjamin, and obviously there was some affection there, and then he talks with the brothers, and he kisses all of them, so there's that reconciliation between all of them, which offers a great perspective of, even though we've done wrong in our past, we can put it behind us and work together for our future. So there was that.
But do you think the brothers might have still had some lingering
Oh,
fears?
I'm sure, because then he has to reassure them later on.
And then
Don't be
after
afraid.
the dad dies, they're
don't be afraid.
yeah.
It's still not gonna do anything
Spoilers,
bad.
yeah. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
brothers, all the brothers, just in general. Okay.
And then Pharaoh,
Okay.
he was happy for Joseph, which offers a great perspective because Joseph has been a faithful servant. He has taken his leadership role and done so well with it that Pharaoh has built up a care for him, and he's excited for him to be reunited for his family. So when you do good things, other people will notice, and they'll be happy for you when you have those successes.
And Pharaoh kind of, he helped Joseph. There's no doubt about it. He helped Joseph. It's kind of surprising that he didn't say, this whole time you've been here in my house and you were a shepherd. That's an abomination.
Right.
You abominated my palace. He could have
Yeah, he could have come back and
off with your heads and everybody else's heads
Yeah.
and gone. But he didn't have that reaction. And so I'm not going to say he fought for Joseph, but he sided with, he helped Joseph through that time, and he felt good for him.
And then I also added that Pharaoh, he thinks that it was his ideal to bring Joseph's family there, but he basically just repeated exactly what Joseph said, which shows it was God's plan all along.
Yeah.
God put that on Pharaoh's heart to go through all of those steps of bringing his family there.
Yep.
So that was kind of cool because God is using somebody who's an unrighteous person to work his plan for the righteous. And it can happen.
And it's happened throughout history. Could it happen today? If it's happened before, it could still happen today, right? All right, very good. Anybody, could you think of any other characters?
No.
That's
No.
only two I
That's the two you put? No.
I liked how 46 listed and Onan died in the land of Canaan, but doesn't say why. After we got that whole story of how they didn't fulfill their rights, but they weren't really. It wasn't
Yeah,
really.
there's not much there, yeah.
Just like the way that it was worded, they died in Canaan. They died because they didn't do what they were supposed to.
So as far as the brothers go, I put specifically down Benjamin, even though we don't really hear anything. That intrigues me. That there are no words of Benjamin.
Yeah.
But you do, what intrigued me was the fact that he shows emotion.
Yes.
That it wasn't just Joseph who was weeping, but it says Benjamin was weeping as well. That's 45:14. And we also see he was treated very special. He was given 3,000 pieces of silver, and the other brothers were given changes of clothes. He was given 5 changes of clothes. Boy, that made me feel really bad going through our closets. He had 5 changes of clothes. And just to go, a little bit more on this, showing how the brothers had changed, they didn't show any signs of jealousy.
No.
They didn't question it. And
They've
so,
definitely grown.
so maybe they're learning this lesson that there's more to life than just physical things.
And it shows that even though his brothers were older than him when they sold him, that even older people can still mature and grow. So
Yes.
Yeah.
you're never too set or too old to have that maturity and growth. So they
And-
have matured quite a bit from when they were in their younger days.
And even if you're old, you can still make mistakes, right, Judah?
hope you
Yeah.
So nobody's impervious to that.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, all right. Any other thoughts from question 5?
Well, I had said, Pharaoh, glad to have his family. He loves Joseph, kind of like part of his family. I said the whole house was glad. I said the brothers, there was true forgiveness between them all. And they were brought to pastures, by God, kind of peace. so that was like kind of a piece. And then something else to correlate, Joseph gives them life, through God, but Jesus gives life through God,
Yeah.
so.
That's it's great. And just to go along with what, I wrote down here, you were talking about Pharaoh's house. Yeah, his servants. So it wasn't just one man in Egypt was happy that they were all happy, all of Pharaoh's. So, I think that says a lot about who Pharaoh was and his leadership and how that trickled out to the people around him.
Well, it probably had a lot to do with Joseph being godly and being blessed, because Joseph's blessed and Pharaoh and the household are blessed. There was blessings all around, and when there's blessings, there's happiness.
Yeah.
When there's cursings and it's an evil Pharaoh and there's no blessings, nobody's happy.
Yeah, so contrast that with what happens later on in the book of
Yeah,
Exodus.
Right.
I said Pharaoh also shows us the wisdom of aligning ourselves with godly counsel.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
prosper.
yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah, align ourselves with godly people and godly counsel. Yep. All right. Very good. Anything extra? Anything else?
No.
Somebody needs to take away that no button from her. You sound like Grogu over there. No. All right. If there's nothing else, Mr. Glenn, if you would close us out with a word of prayer, please.
Our great and kind Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for all the many blessings you've given us this day. Thank you especially for this class tonight and the fun we have here and the learning that we have in this class as well. And thank you very much for being part of this. We pray, Lord, you be with us in our works here. Pray that you bless them. Pray that you be with the sick of our number. Special blessing on John Barker, so that be with him as he goes through his radiation, and be with him in this, and strengthen him in this. And certainly be with our sister Dawn Thornton, who is now home, and certainly be with her as well. Pray that you'd bring us back at the next point in time, and certainly forgive us for all our sins. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And probably should remember our young people, because they're going to be traveling tomorrow to Tennessee for the
CYC.
CYC Challenge Youth Conference.
Yep.
Yeah.